Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is Sophia Jeeves. I'm the Mood Lady. And if you suffer from self esteem issues, low self esteem, listen up because we're going to talk today about what it is and how we can improve it, right? How do we bolster our self esteem? So let's start with the explanation of what me, Sophia Jeeves, thinks self esteem is. I would have to say that self-esteem is basically um, how we feel about ourselves, like what our perception of ourselves is, and what we perceive our value is. Okay, so I would say that that would be the explanation of what self-esteem is. Um, uh, how does it get developed? So if you grow up in a functional family, more or less, because I think every family has a bit of dysfunction in it, right? There's no perfect family. That I think that's an illusion. But if we were raised in a sort of functional family, or as we're growing up, we're taught to kind of validate our feelings. That our opinions matter. We're included in important conversations to our level, of course, as children. We're treated like people, basically, like humans. That we have worth and that we have our opinions matter, and that we're cared about and we're loved and we're a valued member of the family, right? So people who grow up in those tend more positive, because I think it's always on a scale, more positive family dynamics, they tend to grow up with healthier self-esteem issues, right? Self-esteem, self-image. So if you grow up in a dysfunctional family, then you kind of, like, especially if it was really critical, judgmental, that whole era that children should be seen and not heard. Don't even get me started on that because I hate that. I don't think it's true because children are human, right? And they have their opinions and they should be allowed to express them, as long as it's respectful and nice. And they have their own opinion and they have the right to say what they want to say too, right? Um, they should be treated like humans, like people. And so our self-esteem gets extremely damaged when, while we're growing up, we don't our feelings don't get validated. We learn, perhaps we were raised in a narcissistic environment where um, our self-worth kind of was totally dependent on what our parents approval of us, which is completely unacceptable, right? Because we have to learn to depend on our own selves for that. But I'll get to more of that later. So this is kind of like the origins of self-esteem, where it comes from. So if you have a parent with low self-esteem, the chances are higher that you're going to have low self-esteem, because I'm always of the opinion that you can't teach your children what you don't know, right? And so a lot of us, raised in those environments, like, yes, it's okay, you can say, I blame my parents for XYZ, but at a certain point you have to say, okay, well, I'm an adult now and I'm responsible for my life. But anyway, going back to the self-esteem thing, how do we improve our self-esteem? Now, that is a very good question. What I did to improve my self-esteem was, first, like, this happened slowly over the course of many years, through therapy, you know, through a lot of self-development. I kind of slowly started to find my voice. And I really found my voice when I joined Toastmasters, which is an organization who teaches us, like, leadership skills, communication, public speaking, and all that kind of stuff. Because you can't be a good public speaker unless you kind of believe in yourself, at least to a certain level, right? At least in my case, some people are just born naturally good speakers. So there's that. But anyway, um, how do we improve our self-esteem? So the first thing that we need to do is kind of take stock of how we feel about ourselves. Like, write down, like, I think that I'm this, I think that I'm that. Just really, really become more self-aware. And that's what this whole process is like. um, you know, learning to deal with mental illness and everything. A big part of that is becoming self-aware. But anyway, that's for a whole nother video. um, so that we can become aware of our thoughts and our beliefs about ourselves, because until we're aware of what those thoughts and beliefs are, then we can do something about it to change it, right? So like if I think that I am I don't know, let's give an example, that I'm not good at math. Well, okay, is that true? Yes, no, right? And then practice math until you get good at it, and then you'll get good at it, right? So um, it's those type of things, being self-aware, working through some of those negative beliefs we have about ourselves. That's a really, really big one. Like I said, therapy really, really helped me, like identifying like, why do I feel like that about myself? And then I realized at some point it's like, that's not even true. Why would I accept that belief about myself so blindly? And I realized that, it's because I wasn't shown differently as a child, right? So being self-aware is huge. um, and challenging our negative thinking, that is a big one. Like um, the idea that, oh, everything always goes badly for me. you know how are you programming your mind? How are you programming your body? Because your body hears all that when you're saying all those negative things, right? So challenge those thoughts and say, everything always goes right for me. Like, look, well, I have this and I have that and I have the other thing, and then so learn to recognize what those damaging thoughts are and challenge them, because um, um, most of the time they're not true. We tend, and I saw this somewhere. It's like it says anxiety is a liar, something like that. It's kind of true, because like you have all these negative thoughts, and then if you don't question them and you don't challenge them, how are you going to feel good about yourself? Right? You're just going to continue to think negatively about yourself all the time. Another thing we could do is do affirmations, and I'm going to do some mirror work very, very soon, and looking at ourselves in the mirror and really just saying, I love you and I appreciate you and you're such a beautiful person. Do you know how hard that exercise actually is? Do you know how hard it is for a person with depression and low self-esteem? Oh my God. So I'm gonna work through it. I'm gonna record myself doing that, and it's gonna be epic. So um, just learning to love yourself the way nobody could love you before. That's gonna be a game changer, I'm sure. And I think like I'm kind of scared. I think that's why I've been avoiding it, is doing that video with the mirror work, because like I know that I'm gonna be facing some uncomfortable things, but I'm going to face them because I want to overcome them. So that's another thing we can do. And then lastly, you know, going back to that whole being raised in a dysfunctional environment, like if you're raised in a dysfunctional environment, you probably learn to see yourself, see your value through other people's eyes. And if your parent or caregiver said something absolutely terrible about you, it just crushed you and you believed it, right? Because you're a kid. What do you know? So now the tough work is really to um, stop putting our value in other people. Stop like, whether somebody approves of you or doesn't approve of you, it's not your problem. You know, the real question is, do you approve of yourself? That's hard. That's a hard one. I'm still working through that, but I'm getting much, much better at it now. Like I had a situation at work where a previous manager, I just kind of got the impression that she doesn't like me very much, and it bothered me for so long. It bothered me, like, why? Like, I did such a good job, and this and that and the other thing, and then finally, I thought it through and I thought it through, and it's like, well, why am I putting so much? Why do I care so much if she likes me or not? Like, do I like her? Is she a good person? Does she like? So there was that switch in my head where I'm like, okay, well, I'm seeing it from my value and my point of view now. I'm not expecting that the validation from this person anymore, and I don't need it and I don't want it, because the fact of the matter is, like, I have value regardless of what this person thinks about me or doesn't think about me. And that was a huge shift, huge. So I recommend doing a lot of that inner work where you're just recognizing all the things that you feel about yourself and then challenging the negative ones, and start valuing your own opinions and your own thoughts and your own, like, it's going to shift everything for you when you start looking at the world from your own point of view instead of being reflected from somebody else's opinion of you. It's amazing, and that's a big one. So I would say that, yeah, do that. Yes, do that. That's my great advice for you today. um yeah, those are the things you could do to work on your self-esteem. Love you for all your worth, because you're a beautiful person regardless about what anyone else thinks of you. It's only, and I tell this to my son, only you, your opinion, when it comes to your worth, I mean, not with everything, generally, don't be a narcissist. Your worth and your value does not depend on what other people think of you. It depends on you. And my therapist said, you have to be your own best friend, your own best friend, that's going to bolster you and pick you up. It's so funny because a lot of women, we push each other up and we bolster each other up, and we're great and we're amazing friends sometimes. But are we that amazing friend to ourselves? Oh, I'll leave that with you to think about. So those are the things you can do to work on your self-esteem. As always, I love you and appreciate you, and let's continue this healing journey together. My name is Sophia Jeeves, and I'm the Mood Lady, signing out.